Hello and
Hello.
welcome to Find Out Nation. It's been a week, I think, right?
It's been 14 days since the
2 weeks.
inauguration.
2 weeks since the inauguration.
It
Okay.
feels like 200 years.
Time is a construct at this point. I mean, don't get me wrong,
Literally.
it is anyway, but it's
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
like just a construct at this point.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has done a lot in the 2 weeks. And he said he was like, this is not at all a surprise. People are holding on as best they can. I am your host, Jamie.
I'm your other host, Nicole.
And we are here to muddle through the craziness, which is this
Yes.
Trump presidency and where we are at. In all fairness, when we originally started this podcast, a lot of what we talked about was like what both sides could do to be better.
Yeah.
I got to be honest, like I don't know. I read the Heritage Foundation. I listened to Trump's speeches. It's not like everything he told us he was going to do, he's done.
They're doing.
There's none of this shit should be a surprise. And yet I am astounded. I am literally astounded that we are where we are in the country today.
In 14 days. He did say he would come in hot, shock and awe that they were going to come in guns a-blazing. But I am still shocked at the level of, I think we've had less than a week of White House press briefings, and she's just out here, Carolyn Levitt's just out here lying her freaking ass off.
Oh my.
Which I found out, by the way, she's in the training videos for the Heritage Foundation. So that's fun.
No.
Yeah.
Is she really?
How to be the best employee for your boss. Yeah, I sat through that. Vomit.
Oh.
But it's very I think the lying for me is even worse this time around than last time around. Mainly because some of it is so goddamn blatant that I'm like, how do people not realize that this shit is not fucking true? Like, how is it that when he says something like this, you don't immediately go to your fucking laptop to figure out, is this true or not?
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? Because it's just insanity. It's insanity.
Yeah. So let's start with the first thing.
Okay.
The biggest thing for me right now is the tariffs on Canada and Mexico. So for anyone that has been living under a rock, Trump had originally, so there was confusion because I think the tariffs were originally supposed to start March 1st. But because of a speech that he gave, he basically was like, no, they're starting February 1st. So February 1st, supposedly they implemented a new tariff on goods imported from both Mexico and Canada, which, obviously the United States immediately responded and said, or I should say Canada and Mexico immediately responded and said, okay, you guys are now going to have to deal with tariffs as well. The biggest, so in talking to AJ, of course, I guess we import 25% of our oil from Canada. So that's one of the big issues there is obviously, but of course, Trump is making comments about Canada being our 51st state, which I love. I think that's hilarious.
Right, because Canada has what reason on the planet for being like, sure, let's have worse healthcare. Let's have worse economic stability and less, global accolades. I don't know really what to say at this point. You know what I mean? Like,
So, apparently today, Monday, so it's Monday, February 3rd, Trump spoke to leaders both in Mexico and Canada and decided to pause the tariffs, especially considering, what's that?
Only for 30 days, supposedly.
Right.
If he remembers, the big caveat here being, guys, that he's got to remember in 30 days. Or have somebody in his orbit to remind him in 30 days to enact those tariffs when he doesn't get what he wants.
Yeah, I love that. Don't you love that? Yeah. He'll know. We'll see what happens. But this was an interesting way for him to actually put tariffs on and take them out. What's interesting too is how volatile this has caused the stock market to be. From what I understand,
yes,
it's up, down. Now, I have obviously a 401k and I have investments in our stock markets, as I'm sure all of us do. But at the end of the day, I'm just really, I don't, it just astounds me that we're going to like try and put this type of tariff in place for people like our best,
allies.
Right. Our best allies, right? Like
That's
our
my
best
thing.
allies.
Like, he spent the entire time campaigning about how hard he was going to go on China with these tariffs. China, fucking China is all we goddamn heard about. And then he comes out and slams them with 10%, and Mexico and Canada with 25%, and all about this bullshit with fentanyl. And hi, Betty.
I know she's disgusted
How,
as well. Oh, she's mad.
I mean, rightfully so.
Well, right.
You know,
We're blaming
because of the fentanyl crisis.
Imports. Yes.
Yeah. And supposedly they've agreed to, as part of the 30-day hold, they've agreed to put 10,000 troops on each of their borders for the immigration issues, right? And the fentanyl issues. And this is a way for Trump to pretend to his followers that this was a strong arm tactic. Like, this is not how you're supposed to govern. You're not supposed to come out the gate hot, slapping a tariff on. You're supposed to come out to the American people and say, we're in negotiations right now, trying to impress upon Mexico and Canada. We have this fentanyl issue. We've traced it to their borders. Immigration this, immigration that. We're giving them a deadline. If they don't do X by this date in order to stem the issues that are coming across their borders into our country, then we're going to look at all options are on the table at that point. But instead, you come out hot against our allies. And now he's going to be and now what he'll tell his people, his followers, people stupid enough to believe him is, look, see, they back down. See, now they're putting 10,000 troops on their borders because they know that I'm not fucking around. When the rest of us that don't fall for his shuck and jive all the goddamn time see this for what it was. Mm-hmm. Mexico and Canada pushed back and said, okay, motherfucker, we'll go toe to toe with you. And he backed down. Now, okay, sure, they're going to put 10,000 of their military on the borders. Big fucking deal. That doesn't mean they're doing anything.
No. Well, and to your point, when you look, like, Canada makes up just less than 0.5% of U.S. border fentanyl seizures. So at the end of the day, like, here we are giving, to your point, a totally bogus reason for implementing these tariffs. 100% totally bogus reason. And we're just doing it because this is how Trump believes he should, you know, and to your point, like, all of his believers, all of his followers just believe him. And to your point, they will write the story. They will rewrite history to be like, look at what Trump did. Yep. Oh, he got them to put their own troops on the board. And that'll be part of Mexico paid for the border. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll get all wrapped up.
It never happened. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll get all wrapped up in that story, and we'll be like, look at how good Trump did at these things. When, to your point, it's exactly what you said, where Trump is going to do the thing that he's got to do, and then he got on the phone with the leaders, totally backed down, and reversed the tariff. So,
I saw a meme today that said, all of his supporters are about to find out exactly how he bankrupted all his companies.
100%. This is why I'm really glad that I just bought a car last weekend, because all those prices are about to go up. So,
Well, and let's be clear, the reason we can't slap China with more than 10% of a tariff is because that's where all the MAGA merch is made.
100. Oh God.
So
100%.
go fuck yourself.
So we went to Branson because me and my husband vacation in Branson. We did take our child. Like, we vacationed with our child. Did you go this past weekend,
like this recently?
No, this was over the summer. And we went to this quilt shop because Mark needed a new quilt, and they had a picture of Trump up on the wall, and it was all Trump, 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 Trump. Yeah. Every single quilt in the quilt shop in Branson was made in China. They all were. The only ones that weren't, like, they had 3 or 4 that were made by Amish, because there's a fairly substantial Amish community in Missouri. There were a few that were part of the Amish community, but those were like listed at thousands and thousands of dollars. Everything else was made in China. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so typical of a Trump voter right here.
Yes.
It's like
100%.
Exactly.
Proudly wearing that MAGA hat that was made in China.
All that mega shit was made in fucking China. Yep. You're 100% correct. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the with the tariffs. We'll be watching this, especially over the next 30 days, to see what changes there.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing, and I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast that I have been, one of the goals that I think you and I both had were to call out the left when the left was not doing all
enough.
that they could. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So did you see the story this week about how Donald Trump wanted to close the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID?
Yeah.
And that some of the prominent Democratic senators are like, we are going to hold up all of your nominees, all of your appointments, if you don't readdress USAID. Did you read that story? I was like,
No, I didn't read that story.
I was impressed. I was like, I appreciate the fact that like we're actually taking a stand. We are like really trying. Yes. Like we are actually going to, now we'll see what happens. Because apparently,
because we've shuttered USAID. So like, are you actually going to put your dick on the table and swing it around? Like you want to act like you can. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, because it's fucking ridiculous. I mean, what I was reading today about USAID, because truth be told, I didn't know a whole lot about what USAID did and how
neither did I until this came
that
up.
money was spent. Yeah. But like what I was reading is that Sub-Saharan Africa will suffer the most from this. They received more than 6.5 billion in assistance last year, mostly for AIDS, to help in the reduction of HIV and AIDS. Yep. And so, and I also read this, that in Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, and Guatemala, they have safe mobility offices that have now been shuttered because that's where you go as a migrant seeking to come into the United States. But USAID dollars are what keeps that working. So, it's a humanitarian organization that President Kennedy created in 1961. Right. So I'm like, it's crazy to me that this is something that Doge has just decided we don't need anymore.
Well, and it'll be really interesting because basically the prevailing thought is that any agency that is created by Congress has to have an act of Congress to shut it down. Right. If Trump comes in and says, absolutely not, Congress can go fuck itself, which is basically what they're doing. That's right. And to be perfectly honest, it's always been the Supreme Court that has upheld the fact that it's Congress, the U.S. Congress prerogative to do that type of abolishing agencies and creating agencies. So it'll be interesting how our Congress reacts and how the legislative branch reacts to Trump just trying to come in and say, no, too bad, so sad. Especially, like I said, with a bunch of, I know that there's at least two senators. I think, was it Senator Murphy, Chris Murphy, and somebody else that basically was like, listen, if he decides to just shut this down and think that he can just shut it down, then he will pay. Like, we're going to make him pay, which in my mind, I absolutely love that we're actually like growing some balls and trying to make it happen.
I mean, the AP was reporting this morning that dozens of senior officials are put on leave, thousands of contractors have been laid off, and the employees were told today not to enter the Washington headquarters.
That's insane.
Because Doge has decided that it's just frivolous spending that we don't need.
Okay. So speaking of Doge and Elon Musk, this has probably got to be one of the things that is most disheartening of all of this. So Elon Musk and his running of the department, we've heard reports that they've been going into all sorts of, State Department, the Office of Personnel Management,
Bureau of Fiscal Service,
the Bureau of Fiscal Services. There have been reports that they have been plugging in hard drives to computers, that they're searching personal items, that they are like doing a thorough examination of everything. Of course, part of what that has been legislated in the last 2 weeks is we're going to terminate all. We're going to offer a buyout to all federal employees, right? So every federal employee at this point can elect a buyout, and supposedly they are going to be paid for, what was it? 6 months. Is that right?
Yeah. 6 months, I think.
I think that was right. Which a lot of people are saying is unconstitutional because there's no money put aside to pay those people. So that'll be interesting.
And they don't have the authority to fire these people?
Right. And so I'll be absolutely. So you and I both follow multiple websites. Well, I know I do, and I think you do, but I know I'm looking at multiple websites that are from and hosted by federal employees that are actively reporting out on what's happening, even though I know it's scary for people at this time that could be losing their jobs, could be fired. And it very much is back to if you don't agree with everything Donald Trump says or does, you're going to get fired. So a lot of these people are left leaning. I read a quote today that a third of all federal employees are vets. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but that's DEI for you.
That's exactly right. And so to have so many federal employees, if you're a vet, how do you think this is okay
right?
And so in addition to all of the activities that Musk has taken on, to your point, they have now absolutely reversed all DEI initiatives. They have taken down, to the point where they had gone into training videos and removed references to the Tuskegee Airmen, for crying out loud. And, it's just the amount of, even halting things like celebrating Martin Luther King Day, Black History Month, which we're in, and celebrating things that pride, all of those things that we've been working really hard to get people to accept. The fact that this is where we're at is absolutely devastating, I know, to a lot of people.
Yeah. I know that Trump said today that he's referring to Musk as a special government employee. So I had to look that up because I'm like, what the fuck I figured he just made that up. Kind of like his whole first buddy bullshit.
Yeah.
But no, a special government employee is actually a title, a thing, but, they're usually appointed to their position for no more than 130 days.
Well, and
it says it's unclear, but see, he hasn't been, I guess he's been appointed by Trump, but he still has not, because even those people have to go through the ethics agreements. They have to have the financial disclosures, which Musk has billions of dollars in federal contracts because of SpaceX. He's done none of that. He's just out here with free fucking reign. And this thing with the Bureau of Fiscal Service, he has access to all of our financial information, our personal financial information.
Yeah.
Because we receive a federal income tax refund, because you might get child support, because you might all of those things. If you've ever paid a debt, you've garnished a wage, any of the things, he has access to all that shit.
Yeah. So the reporting right now says that it sounds like he has top secret security clearance, that he has an office on the White House campus, that he has full access to the Treasury Department's critical payment system. To your point, he has access to basically all the federal money. He has access to look at all of the contracts right now that the government has, and can, talk about a conflict of fucking interest. Yeah. And of course, then he also has access, to your point, to all of our information. So there is nothing. The Bureau payment system controls the flow of $6 trillion in annual payments to household, businesses, and other entities. Yep. So I will be,
No, sorry, go ahead. You're fine.
No, it's just terrifying to me that somebody with this much money can buy their way into all of these changes, right?
Yeah, yeah. Somebody named David Librick? I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Librick, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about? Yeah.
Top servant of the Treasury Department, yes.
Yeah, that tried to stand in their way and then announced his retirement on late Friday, because it wasn't going to work. And then late Friday nights when Musk got control, all I could think about when I was hearing about this shit on Saturday was the Saturday Night Massacre during Nixon.
Yeah.
And, all of the shit with what ended up being his bring down over Watergate and his impeachment and all the shit. Because like, how are you just getting to fire all these people that you don't have the authority to fire and getting access to systems that you don't have the proper authority? I just don't. And like, I think it's great that the Democrats have said, because I had not heard that they were going to hold up the nominees or whatever. But why aren't they out in front of the cameras on this? Why? I still don't feel like they're doing enough.
So
like, do they think somebody else is going to stop it?
Well, to your point, there have been a couple high-ranking Democrats that have come out and, of course, spoken out about it. But to your point, I don't know if it's just like I really don't know. Like, to be honest, it feels like there should be a lot more vocalization about how crazy this is. So to your point, in the last week, 3 of Musk's former employees have now taken top positions in the Office of Personnel Management, which is basically the HR department for the federal government. That, you know, in the past, where we have always had like congressional buy-in on things like offering buyouts to federal workers, they're just coming in and doing it without any approval or talking to anyone at all. I mean, in my mind, it seems like it's a no-brainer that this should be really loud. Now, to your point, I do think that the media is doing a good job of covering these things because it's all I'm hearing about these days. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if I was a Democrat, I absolutely like. I guess my point earlier is like, when are they going to say, "Hey, where's our why are you taking all of our power?" Because that's really what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day,
you've overstepped your authority.
That's right. That's right. And I'm assuming it's because if they actually make that statement and then the Supreme Court says, no, Trump can do all the things that they're doing, that then it just puts it in writing, right? The precedent is set. It puts it in writing that now the Congress can do nothing. And then, you know, I know that you have our countdown for when the midterm elections are.
Yeah. But we are, 637 days away.
637. So great. But at the end of the day, if we effectively strip all the power from our legislative branch, we're fucked. Right?
Right. I mean, that's part of like, and not to get all like crazy and dystopian with it, but like when in The Handmaid's Tale, that's literally what they say. When they did away with the Constitution, we didn't say a whole lot. Like then when they, you know what I mean? Like it's just, so at what point, when they suspended the Constitution, we didn't do at what point and I think that's what I think some of the people in Europe and different countries like that are like, why the fuck are the Americans not in the goddamn streets every day?
Yeah.
Which I think is a valid question. But at the same time, for me, I'm like, cause I gotta fucking go to work. I don't have worker protections here. I have to fucking go to work. Like I can't protest in the fucking street every goddamn day because I have to have my fucking job.
That's right.
And they know that.
Yes.
And they fucking know that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's frightening. It's frightening that he has so quickly taken control of so much that he has no authority for.
Well, none. And I think what is equally like federal employees have to take an oath to uphold the Constitution, of which Musk has not had to do.
That's right.
He is obviously not a natural born citizen. He's naturalized. He's not natural born. And there's, I was watching a TikTok about why they don't allow natural born citizens be president of the United States. And it's because they want to make sure that you have no other interest other than the interest of the country you were born in. But in addition to that, then for him to have so many conflicts of interest, he hasn't had to divest any of the stocks that he owns. He hasn't had to break apart from any of the businesses that he owns. And now
he hasn't even had to disclose any of it.
None. And so at the end of the day, for all of you that fell for the drain the swamp narrative, y'all are fucking stupid. Not only did we not drain the swamp,
right?
We have literally invited the worst monster
the knuckle dragging swamp cunt right on in the front door.
That's exactly literally you have invited the swamp cunt to take over the world. I mean, at this point, he literally could take over the world. And can I tell you, I was flipping through something, Reels, Threads, I don't know, but there's a history teacher that came on and said that most empires last for 250 years. I'm like,
awesome.
Let's
be alive right now.
Literally, yes. I mean, and what's killing me is that as Republicans, like as Democrats, obviously we're not supporting of any of this, but aren't our Republican brothers and sisters, like, you know, I know some Republicans, I hate their politics, I hate their ideals, and I feel like all of them get hoodwinked by these types of politicians, right? I don't know how they feel because I absolutely refuse to talk about politics with these people. But at the end of the day, like, you know that the president shouldn't just take everything, be able to take over everything, right? Like, you know.
Like, common fucking sense tells you that, right? Like,
and like, if you call yourself a patriot, you have to, like, believe in the Constitution and
that's right.
And the three branches of government working together, and like, right? You have to want the people leading this country to like care about the Constitution and care about the American people and want the best interest, right? Like, right?
I don't know. I mean, don't you think, but do you think that we've gotten to a point on that side of the aisle? Because we talked about this in one of our other podcasts about this, how empathy is this radical, liberal, woke thing now, like to be empathetic and to care about other people. And so I feel like a lot of times on the right now, it has become a fuck you, I'm going to get mine until I can't get my Medicaid, till my SNAP benefit has been taken away from me because he froze all of the financial aid. And I can't now access my SNAP benefits and I can't get my Medicaid. And now I have a huge fucking problem with it. I didn't care about it until it affected me personally. And I think that for me is also why I can't have discussions with people that I know vote Republican, because I can't wrap my brain around how it has to affect you first before you can understand the gravity of it, before you can get how it's devastating.
Well, and to your point, Mark had a friend who she's staunchly Republican. The first time I met her family, we went to dinner at her parents' house, and in the middle of dinner, they told a joke about Barack Obama, and they called him the N-word at dinner. And
I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that we're probably not of the African American persuasion.
No. So during dinner, she says to her dad was the one that told the joke, oh, Jamie doesn't like that joke because she's a Democrat. And I go, no, I don't like the joke because I grew up in a household that we never used the N-word. And I said it just like that. Right. And her mother says, well, we don't use the N-word here. And I was like, you just did. Like, you just did.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You just did. Okay, so.
Do you know what the N-word is?
Right. Because someone just said it, you know.
Right.
Anyway, so for her, she's so staunchly Republican. In fact, we finally had to unfriend her from all social media because she's such a Trumper.
Oh,
okay, yeah. But she has a son that has special needs. And she, before we unfriended her, was heartfelt upset that her very red county was like wanting to do away with all of the special needs programs that they have for kids with special needs.
IEP?
Yeah. She was just absolutely like, I cannot believe that my county would fail me by discontinuing all these like special programs.
This is what you voted for.
That's what you voted for. So when I think about Find Out Nation, she's who I think about. And to your point,
exactly right.
She cannot. I had someone else who I'm guessing is Republican who was talking about how, oh, I saw a woman at the grocery store using SNAP benefits, and she had a cell phone and got into a newer car. And I'm like, oh my God, like, hopefully you're never in that situation, but I kind of wish you were, because it's the only way you're ever going to learn fucking sympathy and empathy.
Right. You don't know that she owned that car. You don't know that that wasn't a family member's car.
Right.
That she
you don't know
borrowed
she
to go
just
there
lost her job a month ago, and this is her first month on stage. You don't know what happened.
Have no idea.
You have no idea. So shut the fuck up. Like, these people.
Maybe her spouse just died, dropped dead unexpectedly, and now she's got fucking 3 kids at home to take care of on one fucking income.
Nobody knows what the situation is. Nobody can know. And so,
I am a judgy bitch.
So
I treat it like an Olympic sport. I'm real fucking good at it. I'll make a whole goddamn story, especially if I don't like your ass. Like, I can be so fucking judgy and hateful.
You are definitely an
Olympic
material.
Admit that about myself. Yeah. That being said, I try very hard not to judge on those things, I think. Yeah. Just because if I were ever in that situation, I wouldn't want somebody to do it to me. Ever.
That's right.
Like, I'm going to judge you on how you're treating somebody else.
Yes. She could have borrowed the car. She could have borrowed the cell phone. You don't fucking know. But to your point, like, you never know when you're going to be in that situation.
And I don't know if I would know what a SNAP benefit debit card even fucking looks like. I don't even pay attention to people when I'm behind them in a store to see what card they're paying with.
To your point, if there is someone writing a check, I will absolutely judge your fucking ass. Do not hold me up for 25 minutes while you hand print a fucking check. I will come for you, bitch.
Oh my God. I have
you pull out a SNAP benefit debit card? No problem. Bitch, I have not written a check in ages. Oh my God.
I have to write a check every month because I refuse to let the water payment be auto debited from my account. So I handwrite them a check every month.
Girl. Anyway, we're not going down that road.
But I wouldn't even know what the SNAP EBT. I don't care if you pay for your fucking groceries with a goddamn Discover card. I don't give a shit.
Why?
Shit is
Do we
hard
judge
out
people
here.
for Discover cards now?
Right. Like, well, I'm just saying, I have people in my life who highly judge people based on how they pay their bills or don't pay their bills and how they choose to do that because they firmly believe that, no one should have any debt. And if you've actually become a good adult, you have no debt. I just don't fall into that category. A, because I got fucking debt, and B, because I just don't give a shit.
That's right. Who am I? Who am I to tell anyone how to spend their money?
That's right. Like, but
I'm to your point, it feels like on the Republican side, unless you've been in the scenario, you have no empathy for people whatsoever, and that the entire Republican Party is, how do I get mine? But I say that, and that's very much in my mind a MAGA. I don't know if that encompasses, because that's not what the Republican Party used to be. The Republican Party
they're just conservative fiscalness.
Fiscal conservative, rights at the states, those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, I'm just astounded. Okay, we got to move on. But this is all to say that, hey, federal government workers, if you take the buyout, everybody is saying you might not get paid. So this is the one thing to be really, really careful of is,
and you might be better off holding out and making them walk you the fuck out the door and have a lawsuit later.
That's exactly right. Make them fucking fire you, because I worry about anyone that I know that is a federal worker who unfortunately takes the buyout, and then Congress comes back and says, sorry, you have no money for this. And now they're all fucked.
We're viewing this as you quit. You walked off the job and now we don't have to pay you.
Exactly. Okay, let's change topics really quick. Trump's cabinet picks. We know that a lot of the ones that we expected to be confirmed were confirmed. Sean Duffy as the transportation secretary, John Ratcliffe as the CIA director, Mark Rubio, the Environmental Protection Agency, Lee Zeldin, I had never heard of before. But I was like, oh, he sounds like someone who definitely is big on the EPA and will really enjoy that. Anyway, that nothing this week has been particularly shocking. Of course, we cover Pete Hegseth, which was absolutely fucking insane that he was confirmed. But it is what it is. Anything weird of anyone that got confirmed?
No, I mean, and I did get to listen to all of RFK Jr.'s testimony.
Yes.
I did not get to listen to any of Kash Patel's. I ended up with several meetings Thursday morning, and I got to listen to none of it, and I did not get to listen to any of good old Tulsi's.
Okay. So I think the only one that I got to listen to as well was Robert F. Kennedy's RFK's. All right. Bernie Sanders is a goddamn national treasure.
Did you get my text? Oh my God.
Did.
When I texted you,
and so I went back and I watched it.
Oh my God, fucking Bernie.
And I was like, the man's a national treasure. Him going hard on Robert F. Kennedy and just being like as blunt as, so do you believe in vaccines? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Was such
Do you believe that healthcare is a right? That every American in this country deserves
because he started doing the whole like, no. Do you believe everyone's owed a health? It's a right for people to have healthcare. And he basically came back and was like,
Yeah, because he tried to shut, when Bernie asked him that question the first time, then RFK Jr. was like, well, if you've been a smoker your whole life, and Bernie's like, no. Do you believe that it is a right for every American to have health care? And he started to hedge again, and Bernie's like, I'll take that as a no. And he moves right on over to his next question. And I'm like, yeah, because while I saw a video later, because I couldn't watch the hearing, I was just listening to it, of him putting a Zyn, is that what they're called? ZYN? It's the smokeless, chewless tobacco pack. He popped one in his mouth while he was sitting there during the
Did he really?
confirmation hearing. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
I did not catch that. No.
Yeah. He palmed it. You see him palm it, and then he puts his hand in front of his mouth and then he works it into his gum. As someone who grew up with a dad that chewed tobacco, he has chewed tobacco his whole life, my whole life. Yeah. Okay. So Bernie is a goddamn national treasure.
Yeah. So they have not confirmed RFK. That's Tulsi Gabbard. Obviously, I think she has more hearings this week.
Close? Oh, she does. Do you think it's close? Like, do you think it's going to be another tie like it was for Pete? Or do you think he's not going to get confirmed? What do you think?
I don't think he's going to get confirmed. I'm still, so this, Mark would tell you, this is my half glass full attitude.
Your optimism. Mm-hmm.
I always am like, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. Like, I just cannot believe that RFK,
that they would do it.
Yes, of all, like, there's Republican versus Democrat, and then there's just batshit fucking crazy. There's no way RFK can get confirmed, right?
Here's what makes me so mad about it is that at one point in his nomination hearing, whatever, he's saying stuff about like red dye 40 and all the things that are in our food. And here's the deal, James, like I can get behind that. He was talking about the differences in like the McDonald's French fries, the differences in what's allowed in them in Europe versus what's allowed here. I can get behind that shit.
Sure.
1,000%. But then you say unhinged shit like COVID was done to give the Jews a better chance of survival.
Or black people have different genes and so they shouldn't be on the same vaccine schedule as white people.
Right. And then I'm like, no, see, you fucking lost me. And then like I saw today that something like 50 letters of recommendation on his behalf have come into the senators or whatever. Oh yeah, they're all disbarred members of the medical community.
Can I just tell you?
Every single one of them.
So to your point, like a clock is right twice a day. Of course, some of the things RFK Jr. is saying are things that are concerning.
Is rational.
That's right. Is rational because conspiracy theorists always have like a little tiny bit of rationality that leads to oh my God, this is why, whatever. So it does not, because I have another friend that says the same thing. Like there are things that RFK Jr. brings up. And to your point, like even Pete Hegseth, there are things that he has talked about in the past that have made sense to me, but that doesn't mean that I can support him as right. Exactly. Like
the overarching theme is that you're fucking crazy.
Just batshit, absolutely fucking crazy. Yeah. So I think this week we have country. Yeah, we have decisions coming. Pam Bondi is one of them on the list.
Pam Bondi. She'll probably get confirmed, don't you think? I don't think she's radical enough
I do.
to not get confirmed at this
That's right.
point. Yeah.
I do too. And she's one of the few people who actually has at least a background in the thing that she's trying to, right? Like she's
so true.
Actually,
yes.
Right. So
she's not just a Fox News host.
That's right. So, I mean, but I do believe that yes, she will likely get confirmed. I love the fact so many of the people that are on his cabinet are other billionaires that own companies and have run his new Secretary of Energy. It was the CEO of a Denver energy company. Who's the guy that's like one of the richest? Oh, fuck me. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, who was just confirmed, was a wealthy software executive. Like the amount of people that we are like draining the swamp, but really just adding in new, bigger, badder predators
and keeping their hands right in the federal pie.
That's right. And now they'll have access to everything. It's just absolutely insane. I try not to go too conspiracy theorist. I try to limit it, but it really, this just reeks of we're getting access to the entire government so that all of these rich people can take over.
Yep.
250 years. Most empires on average last 250 years. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So besides that, I know last week I had talked about FEMA because I know that Trump, one of the things that he really wants to do is get rid of FEMA. Even as recently as just yesterday, there are talks about shutting down the federal agency that responds to these disasters. The thing that I find particularly interesting is that Republicans absolutely, especially Republicans from states like Louisiana and North Carolina, are absolutely adamantly against shutting down FEMA. What do you think would happen? Trump's
if they shut down FEMA?
States should take care of their own disasters.
So here's my take on it is that the reason FEMA was created, correct me if I'm wrong, but is because the states don't have enough money on their own to be able to take care of these massive natural disasters that occur in their states, which is why FEMA was created. It made it a federal agency. All of our federal tax dollars pay into it so that when a natural disaster is declared, like the tornado that happened in Joplin, Missouri that fucking leveled the entire goddamn city.
Yep.
When they declare that a natural disaster, FEMA comes in and helps people repair their home, rebuild their homes, gets them shelter, like all of the things. It's not just, you're not just reliant on the Red Cross and what money your state may or may not have, especially because we have a lot of states, Louisiana and Georgia. I'm looking at you, Mississippi. Don't have a lot of fucking money. Don't have a lot of fucking money for these natural disasters. And my own personal liberal left-leaning take on it is, if we're not going to address climate change, we have no fucking business dismantling FEMA because this shit's just going to keep getting worse.
The director of the EPA used to own an energy company. So there's absolutely we're not fixing
We're definitely not believing it. No, definitely not doing that. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. So what's interesting to me is, as you know, generally the red states are the top states to receive funding from FEMA. They're the ones that usually get helped by FEMA. So I'm really curious what's going to happen. And I'm curious if people in those states, these right-wing people in those states, are hearing things like Trump wants to get rid of or completely revamp FEMA. And they're thinking, oh shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So, because when that one hurricane hit and he's out here on the news, this was before the election, and he's out here on the news saying FEMA's not here. FEMA's not helping people. And the fucking director of FEMA's like, I'm right fucking here.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? We're right here. We're helping people. His fucking followers fell for that shit at every goddamn rally after that.
Exactly.
Despite all evidence to the contrary that FEMA had boots on the fucking ground and was there.
Right.
And so, that's where I'm with you. I'm like, do they really believe that dismantling FEMA and turning it back over to the states is a great idea.
Right. And when, one of the things that he cites as the biggest problems with FEMA are the rampant fraud that happens with FEMA. Can we just take a moment to realize that every fraudulent FEMA, bad thing that's happened has happened by a Republican, has happened by, we have seen so much fraud by wealthy Republicans that are continuing to take advantage of these disaster relief scenarios when, they absolutely, anyway. So I really I get the idea. And this is really true for a lot of these, it sort of goes back to the RFK conversation. Are there problems with FEMA? Of course. Are there problems in our federal government? Of course there are. Do we have issues that need to be addressed? 100%. But is the way to handle that to completely fire everyone and start over? Do we really think that the way to handle these issues, that the way that Trump is handling these issues, which is to go in, fire everyone and start new, is really the right way to handle these issues?
Especially because doing that means that nothing's happening. Everything's at a fucking standstill. If we have a national catastrophe tomorrow,
we'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Well, we're seeing that now, right? We are seeing specifically where things have stopped happening at the federal government, that while these exploratory committees are reviewing things to see how they're working and what should and shouldn't happen, and that things are just stopping completely at the government. I can't imagine being in the federal government right now, having a job to do and just having absolutely no capability to do it.
So that's my thing, is I'm like, are they that incompetent? You can't perform a review while things are functioning as normal?
Right.
You can't do that. You don't have the wherewithal to be able to do that, probably because you're not equipped to be in the position that you're in then.
Yeah.
If you cannot evaluate how the system is currently running today and diagnose it for inefficiencies without everything having to be at a standstill, you shouldn't be in the position that you're in.
Yeah. So this is just a quick search on AI of everything that has stopped since Trump took office. There was a federal funding freeze. Trump ordered a temporary pause on federal grants and loans, which affected billions of dollars in funding for state and local governments, which included programs related to education, healthcare, and social services. The freeze was later rescinded after facing legal challenges and widespread confusion. Environmental regulations. The Trump administration rolled back numerous environmental regulations, including the Clean Power Plan and the Waters of the United States rule, which aimed to reduce carbon emissions and protect waterways. Healthcare policies. The Trump administration attempted to repeal the Affordable Care Act multiple times. Obviously, all the DEI stuff has been paused. He cited them as Marxist and social engineering policies. And then, of course, USAID, the foreign aid stuff. So there's a lot there. I mean, in 2 weeks to have stopped so much of these programs that are there to help people and to, help communities. It's just astounding to me that and if MAGA voters are fine with that, they're fine with that. I for one, I'm just shocked. I will be really interested to see. I've heard his approval rating has gone down. Have you heard that as well? Oh,
I have not. But I mean, the good news here is that the Department of Homeland Security is estimating that the Lake and Riley Act for the immigration will cost $26.9 billion with a B in the first year to implement, including an increase of 110,000 ICE detention beds. So we're stopping everything else, but good news, guys, we're going to get those beds up and going for those 30,000 people we're getting ready to shove into Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, well, so that's the other thing. So to your point, we haven't hit on all of the headlines, right? We've already created
too many.
That's right.
And
we're already creating the camps. We've had airstrikes against Somalia. We haven't even touched on every headline. It's literally
planes falling out of the fucking sky here in the U.S.
We have, that's right, the plane crashes that have been happening lately, and especially,
what the fuck?
Yes, it's absolutely traumatic. It is absolutely traumatic.
We have all this stuff still happening with our trans brothers and sisters. Jamie and I had another conversation about that over the last weekend. They want to shut the Department of Education down sometime this month. He has said that the answer will come on that before the end of February
So
to shutter the Department of Education.
So Trump's current favorability rates, right now he's at 46.4 favorable and 48 unfavorable. It is clear that he is not as popular as Joe Biden was at this point in his presidency. On January 31st, 2021, Biden was at 53.8% positive and 33.4% negative.
But that's fake news.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Don't forget, that's fake news.
I have one more. Like, I love this story because go fuck yourself, right? I love this story. So I really, when they put through the tariffs for Canada, Ontario Premier Doug Ford ripped up his $100 million contract with Elon Musk's Starlink. I loved that. I was like, you go, honey, you go.
Well, I heard they were booing our national anthem during a hockey game over the weekend, but that fucking ripping up of a contract is amazing. Because that's how it's that's going to be the thing, right? That gets Trump and Musk and all that. You have to hit them where it hurts.
Oh yeah. Well, so because they're saying that they've had a lot of retaliatory measures, like taking American products off shelves, taking, American liquor off shelves, imports off shelves.
I did see something where Justin Trudeau said that they were not going to purchase maybe liquor from red states.
Yep. Which I love. Good.
Yeah. So no whiskey, no bourbon. Yeah. No. Yeah.
To our earlier point, the only way that the American people are going to figure it out is if it hurts. It has to hurt them.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that is all I had. How many days? So we're 14 days into the presidency.
14 days into the
637 days?
7. Yeah,
until
637 until the midterms. Yeah.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Less than 2 years. 250 years is the average that most empires survive.
God, I never thought.
I know. I really didn't either. To be honest, as much as I knew I would hate the Trump presidency, as much as I knew that this was going to be painful, I could not. I said this at the beginning of the podcast, he told us everything he was going to do. It's not like any of this should be surprising, and yet it is. It really, really, truly is.
Yeah, and I think it is because he's been so much faster about it, because that's what he learned from the first time around, right?
That's right.
He had to move fast, and he doesn't have anybody who gives a shit about the law, the Constitution, any of that to stand in his way now. And interestingly, I made this comment when we were coming home one night this weekend, is that all the people along my street, because I live almost at the end of my street, that I know are Trumpers, have taken all their flags down. None of their flags are flying. And I find that interesting because they have flown since 1.0. And now I'm like, so what is it? Is it that you think you can go in? You think I don't remember your fucking house being the one with the flag out? Because I do. So what exactly is your reason for not flying that motherfucker loud and proud like you've been doing for the last 8 goddamn years?
So that is encouraging. It can't be that
you had a change of heart.
That is encouraging, because I will tell you that I still have 2 households in my neighborhood I have one and he's got it on a goddamn fucking flagpole.
Oh yeah, that's how ours were too. Either the flagpoles, most of ours are the flagpoles that come off the house.
No, this is like a dedicated fucking
in the center of the yard.
Yes. In the yard flagpole. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? But to your point, people still support him. People still think he's fabulous. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, and they said the whole reason for USAID getting shut down was because $50 million of condoms was being sent to Gaza. Not true. A quick Google search lets you know that that's not true.
All of it's not true. The fentanyl coming from Canada is not true. And the RFK, vaccine comments that he makes, those are not true. Like this is the problem is, and we know this, right? Is that, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. None of this shit is true. We know it's not true. And so, when you talk to MAGA people, they're like, well, that's not what he meant. Or, there's
some kind of like,
they can always
Trump
logic themselves into justifying why something is the way it is.
It wasn't a quid pro quo with Zelensky during 1.0 for Ukraine aid. It was not. They impeached him for no reason.
And I think what really is devastating to me is that, if he had just won when Joe Biden won, if Joe Biden had lost and he had just won, he wouldn't have had the time to create the strategy that he's implementing now. Yeah, we almost did an even worse disservice to ourselves because he had 4 years to create Project 2025, to develop a strategy, to learn, to spend time learning that, first, 2 months out of the gate, you have to get a bunch of stuff done. And he had time to figure all that out and to create a strategy for this presidency. It's just absolutely devastating to me. So anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. We got to stop because I'm just getting sadder and sadder and more depressed. But
I know. And it's late and it's,
It is. All right. Well, for everyone that has stuck in with us and listened, we appreciate it. If, again, any of you are federal workers and you need something from us that are not federal workers, please let us know, even if it's like help with rent, because you end up quitting and then you don't get any money. You let us know. Otherwise, please like and subscribe to the channel so you get updates when we do release them. I am going to start releasing these on Blue Sky as well because so many of us are trying to get away from Facebook and not be beholden to the Zuckerberg or get leaving Target.
Oh, yeah. Real quickly, did you see that Meta last week announced that they'd pay the $25 million lawsuit, settle it with Trump? Zuckerberg came out and said that Meta is going to pay the $25 million to settle the Trump lawsuit. He stated, this is from The Hill, we now have a U.S. administration that is proud of our leading companies, prioritizes American technology winning, and will defend the values and interests abroad. Zuckerberg continued, I am optimistic about the progress and innovation that this can unlock. 22 of the 25 million is expected to go into a fund for Trump's presidential library.
Love that.
In his presidential library. What do we put in his presidential library? The fucking documents that he stole? From the first time around?
Pictures of his bathroom.
Yeah. And pictures of his very small inauguration the first time around. His perfect, great, large size.
That's right. Yeah. That's exactly right.
So Zuckerberg is settling the lawsuit. So that's just, there's the little cherry on top for tonight.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Hopefully you are not preparing for the end of the world, but if you are, I couldn't blame you.
Yes.
We have love in our hearts for all of you. And for anyone that did vote for Donald Trump, hope you're seeing exactly what you expected. This. That's right.
Yeah. Hope you're having the time that you voted for.
Exactly. I hope you have the day you deserve.
Yes, exactly.
That's exactly
1,000%.
Right. Yes. All right. Good night.
Good night.